a strong team on paper, but execution still feels slower and harder than it should be? Welcome to the Executive Peel. We've interviewed over 240 executive leaders from organizations such as Disney, Coca-Cola, DriveTime, the CIA, and many more major national and international brands. Now we focus on CEOs and senior executives of multi-location, operation-heavy companies, digging into what's working, what's still hard, and how they're growing themselves and their leaders so their business can grow fast without them in every decision. I'm your host, Alex D. Tremble, CEO of GPS Leadership Solutions, where we run a 14-day executive leadership diagnostic for CEOs who know they have a good team, but also know they're leaving profit on the table because the organization is not as productive or efficient as it should be. We help them find their leadership bottlenecks in 14 days and build a 90-day plan to fix them. Now, if you're looking for some real advice from some real-world tested operators, this is the place for you. Let's meet our next guest. Hey, what's going on, Scott? How you living, man?
I'm doing well, Alex. How are you today?
I am well. I am blessed and highly favored. As I was thinking about our time today, you made our last conversation really set with me because you are not only the president and CEO of SmithCo. You've led leaders for a long time, but you didn't start there.
No.
Your beginning was somewhat, it wasn't even quote unquote business, quote unquote adjacent. Could you mind sharing your beginning story, your origin story with our audience?
Sure. I graduated from the University of Iowa in 1992 with a teaching degree. I was going to be a teacher, phys ed teacher, coach at the high school level. I could do anything from kindergarten through 12th grade. And that was what I thought I wanted to do, what God had called me to do. And so I went back to my hometown, and there were no jobs open, full-time jobs open at that time. So I did long-term subbing, short-term subbing. And back in the early 90s, substitutes got paid nothing. And so it was really hard to the bills paid, the different things that life brings your way that you have to pay for. And so I put that off to the side for a little while, thinking, okay, I'm going to make some money and get back to teaching at some point in time. And so I took a job running a YMCA, and I did that for 4.5 years. And through that time, I made some contact with some business people in town, because YMCAs are always trying to get people to give them money to help with costs and so forth. And so I made some connections, I met some people, and one of them approached me about working for him as a manager in his HR and his purchasing departments, kind of a weird combination. So I was the purchasing / HR manager, and I knew nothing about either thing. And so I had to just go out and start learning. Bought books. This is really before the age of the internet. And so you couldn't go Google anything. And so I'm reading and getting on pamphlets from the state of Iowa about workforce and rules and so forth, and time and attendance and all those things that HR managers deal with, and learning on the fly. And so I did that for 2.5 years. In that time period, I'd met my now wife, and she got her first job out of graduate school as a physical therapist in a town called Cherokee, Iowa. And so once we got married, I moved up there and proceeded to try to find a job, and ended up finding a job here at SmithCo as the HR manager. Worked that job for about 3 months, and they asked me to be the plant manager. And I said, I don't know anything about what we're doing. I barely know where the bathroom is. Only been here 3 months, right? And 3 months later, they came and asked me again. And I figured, well, if I don't say yes now, I may be looking past an opportunity that may not come back again. And so I went ahead and said yes, and dove both feet in, and a lot of trial and error, learned by fire, and did okay, I guess, because in 2008, they named me. Well, I started here in July of 2000. In 2008, got promoted to operations manager, And then the founder of SmithCo, retired and sold the company back in March of 2019. And as a part of the sale, I had to agree to become the CEO president for the sale to go through. And I did that, and I've been doing that since.
You know, what's the saying? Put a gun to my head. Don't threaten me with a good time. The only way you'll do this is if I have to be the CEO president. I guess. I mean,
well, honestly, when they approached me, I thought, oh, I don't have the business acumen to be a CEO. I didn't go to business school. I went the education route, and wasn't really shown a lot of the business side of the company as operations manager. I pretty much ran everything though. But what I didn't realize is during that time from 2008 until the company sold, that for many of those years I was already acting as a CEO because the owner was absent. And so I was really doing a lot of the work of a CEO. And so I actually partnered with a group in Iowa called CIRRUS, and it stands for the Centers for Industrial Research. And I forget what the acronym is for the letter A right now. But it's a funded program through the Iowa State University, and they set me up with a CEO coach here locally. And that was a godsend. And he told me, there's nothing wrong with the CEO sitting in a seat, putting his feet up on his desk and just thinking. I said, what do you think about? He says, the business.
Yeah. And
so it took me a while to get out of the business, working in the business, and start working on the business. That took a while for me to give that up. And so I had to learn to build a team, because it was pretty much a one-man gang in many areas. A lot of us wore many hats, and we established a leadership team and did a strategic planning session and charted where we wanted to be in the next 7 years. And that's what we're working towards now. And it's a lot different than it was when I first started. That's for sure.
Dude, it's so amazing. The fact that you talked about, not going the quote unquote business route, yet the reality is that in this industry, there's a significant number of individuals who did not quote unquote go the business route. There's a significant number of individuals who are heirs, who are families passed it down. My grandfather, my grandmother, my great great grandmother, and what do you think it is about? Because again, there's obviously there's this Wharton school and there's the Harvards and all. Like, you got to go here in order to be a significant leader, and you all are doing this real world without those things. So, what do you think it is about your leadership, or the what a leader needs to have in order to be a CEO of a fairly significant size organization doing work in multiple places across the country? And what do you think it is? What is that secret sauce?
I think to some extent there are people who are natural born leaders, and some people catch leadership by watching it being modeled well, and then others learn about leadership through what you're talking about, schooling and seminars and so forth. I think the thing that really is the key to being an effective CEO, you have to know the business side of things, right? But it's all about leading people. It's about casting a vision and saying, this is where we're going to go and this is how we're going to get there, and then leading them. I often think of a picture I saw many years ago. It's basically a stagecoach with a bunch of horses out in front, and there's this guy on top of the stagecoach. He's got this whip, and he's whipping the horses, and the captain next to him is boss. And the next picture is the same picture, but he's out front and he's pulling on the horses, and the caption said leader. And that's the difference. And I think for people like me who kind of come up through the business and learn from the ground floor coming up, you get appreciation for, I don't like this phrase, but the other side of the wall. And so you tend to, I think we tend to look at things a little differently than if you came from a business school and came right in. I think knowing how, we're a manufacturing company, and knowing how my employees on the floor think, how they react, what their daily struggles are. I learned a lot of that as HR manager here. And what are the things that make people like a job, like working at a place, or why do they leave and so forth. So I learned a lot of those lessons through trial and error and just experience. There's a lot to be said for coming into a position like this and being a teacher and a coach,
Yeah.
and having those skills, because I teach and I coach every day.
Wow.
It's either coaching my leadership team or coaching a guy on the floor. Every morning I come in at 6:30 and I walk the floor and I talk to my employees, see where things are, and just familiarize myself with what's going on the floor, because it's the only time really I get on the floor all day, is because once my day starts, I don't have time to get down there hardly at all. But it's also going back to my roots with the company. And so it keeps me grounded and it keeps me in touch with all those people down there as much as possible. Because I think it's important that if you are the leader of an organization, you have to be seen. People don't recognize you as a leader if they don't know who you are and where you are. They don't ever see you. And I don't ever want to be the person, oh, who's that? Well, he's the CEO, and they don't know who I am. Haven't met me. And so, I think I can only speak for myself. You asked, why are so many people with non-business backgrounds ascending to positions like this? If they're anything like me, it's because they saw an opportunity and they saw an organization that had some potential for advancement. With me, SmithCo was very, very young when I started here. And I've had many opportunities to go other places. I've been recruited to many other places. But I always, in the back of my mind, I saw what this place could be.
Yeah.
And I saw what this company could be, and I wanted to be a part of that. And I want to leave a legacy for the next generation to have a job. And so that's kind of what we do around here, is we provide premium value to our customers through what we build, and a better life for our employees by what we do. And so for me, it's been a God thing, really. I have certain set of skills that I've been blessed with. I think I lead people well. I know how to put teams together, and that's from my coaching background. I enjoy getting a group of people together and say, here's what we want to do, whether it be on the football field or within the walls of SmithCo, and how do we figure this out? How do we do it? And I really get a kick out of watching people achieve things they never thought they could do before. And so you combine all that, my experiences, my education I have had in the education world and the coaching world, and you combine that with what I've learned from the business world, it's been a good fit for me. But I will tell you that we couldn't be doing what we're doing without the team that we were able to assemble here. It's not a one person thing. It's not a Scott thing. Scott doesn't make this place go. It's everybody here working together that makes that happen.
I mean, yeah, I think you're so right. I think you, again, for even calling it out, the fact that yes, absolutely. I would definitely assume that your team, your staff would say, dude, like Scott's amazing. He's led us in this direction. He's led us here, and so on and so forth. And so they would give you your accolades, and you are just as right to say, hey, yeah, we wouldn't be here for you, but all of y'all. Like, it is absolutely a team effort. I don't think you can get there without everyone rowing in the same direction. You talk a great deal about coaching and teaching. If I'm correct, and please correct me if I'm wrong, a few years ago, did you bring in some robotics for welding? And I'd love to hear, because there are a lot of, I just came from speaking at HGA's annual meeting, and you wouldn't believe the conversations that are had right now about the use of AI, new technologies, and integrating it into the workforce. And you brought in robotics a while back. And I'd love to hear, like, not from the technology standpoint, but how did you communicate? How did you bring that new technology into the organization in a way that did not make people want to reject it or push it off? They said, okay, look, this is a new tool for us. How did you go about making that integration happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because when we first started looking down this path of bringing automation, we have some semi-automated machines, but they require a person there to operate them, and you have to have some skill. But this was our first totally autonomous robotics that we've ever gone down the road with, and it's a massive cell. It's massive, the biggest one that this company's ever built. And when we started looking at this, the reasons behind it are, of course, because we're in a rural area. We have a finite number of people available to us for employment. So it comes down to, how do we grow and maintain where we are right now? Or do we have to grow a greenfield somewhere, or go buy somebody else? And those are options that may be in our future as we continue to grow. But we wanted to maximize what we could do here, and automation is part of that. So when we started really getting serious about it, we started talking about it within the company. Every second Monday of the month, we have a stand-up company meeting where everybody gathers in our break room, and we just talk about what's going on in the company. And so I started planting those seeds. And if I remember right, the first time I mentioned robotics, welding, a lot of people got scared. And we made a promise from the very beginning that nobody would ever lose their job because we brought in automation. Automation is being brought in to help facilitate where we want to go. Because everybody that's employed here knows that we have a hard time finding enough people. We're in Northwest Iowa, a town of not even 20,000. And there's a major employer here that has over 2,000 employees. And we're not far from Sioux City, which is a major city in Western Iowa. And so we just really compete with a lot of different entities for employees. And given that our employment rate right now is less than 2%, you're just trading employees. And so we had to really give an educational seminar, if you will, to our employees over a long period of time about why we're doing this and what it meant to them. And so there was some hesitation. There was a lot of skepticism. And I would love to tell you that when we put it in play and it was installed, that it worked from day one, just like we wanted it to. It didn't. A lot of that had to do with our lack of knowledge and lack of training. And so I could go into a long story about that, but we don't have time. Suffice to say that we're in a good place today with that and what it's producing for us. And there's great buy-in for it because the employees see the value of what that adds to us and allows us to do more with the same number of people that we had previously. And so as we start adding more automation, as we're getting ready to kick off a big expansion plan here, we're going to add more automation into the plant. They now know that, okay, SmithCo kept their promise. Nobody lost their job. They see why we're bringing it in is to supplement what we're doing and to help us accomplish those production goals that we're after. It's not to replace anyone within the company.
I love, because what I heard is so many different things. One is there's no way that you could have done this without at first having been very intentional at building a culture of trust, that people actually trust that you are honest about what you're saying. Now, yes, people can still be skeptical, but they trusted enough to not run out the doors, right? Because some people might run out the doors. They had a trust there. You talked about signaling. It wasn't like everything all at once. It was like, hey, I mean, a drop here, a thought here, and then slowly rolled out, got people used to it. Like I love it sounds like a very intentional way of doing this. You've been in this role for 7+ years in the CEO role. I'd love to hear maybe from someone who's relatively new to the game in a CEO position, let's say a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years. Like what is the thing you thought you knew about being a CEO that once you were in the seat for a while, you were like, oh shoot, actually is this? Or is there anything that you would definitely want to share with that quote unquote relatively new CEO?
Yeah, I think for me, and I can't speak for everyone who's gone through what I've gone through, but for me, being the operations manager and not having many people at that level operationally with me. If you looked at an org chart, there was the CEO, the CFO, me, and then hundreds of other people, not hundreds, but 100 other people below me that I was in charge of. Everybody was a direct report almost. And being able to say, okay, Scott, you don't have time to do all the things you were doing before. You have to start delegating and you have to put a team in place. If you're a new CEO in an organization that started from the grassroots, so to speak, and come up and it's gotten to the point now where you've grown to a certain stage and you're trying to get bigger, I think for me and probably for many others, it's that attitude of, okay, I have to be willing to invest in people in order for us to grow. And I learned identified very early on that we did not have what I would say is the infrastructure from a personnel standpoint within the organization to achieve our goals. We were just barely keeping our head above water in that respect.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did is I made a commitment. We're going to go out, we're going to find the right people and put them in place. So I had to go out and find an HR director, an engineering director, a sales and marketing director, a CFO, because the CFO we had was retiring along with the owner. Had to go out and find a manufacturing director. And I found all these fabulous people that are now part of my leadership team. And then being able to say, okay, this is your thing. This is where we're going. Go do your thing. And I learned very quickly that micromanaging is not the way to be. Because really, if I hire all these people and I micromanage them, what do I have them for? And these are high achieving people themselves. And so they don't want to be lorded over, just like I didn't want to be lorded over from the previous owner. Let me do my thing. Tell me if I'm doing well, I will. Tell me if I need to fix something, I will. And so I treat them the same way. But that was something that I had that really, I think I said earlier in our interview here, that learning to quit working in the business and work on the business was something that I struggled with, and what that meant for me and how that looked. And today, I really enjoy working on the business. It may look from the outside that I'm not doing much because I'm thinking, feet up on my desk and I'm thinking, okay, how do we want to do this and so forth. But it's a different role for sure. And I think if you're getting into, if you're a new CEO, I kind of compare it to a pastor in many ways. There are certain churches that have preachers and that works for that church. And then there are churches that need shepherds, right? And I see effective CEOs are shepherds. One, they take care of the business.
Yeah.
They take care of their people, and they lead. And they, we're going to go this way. Come on, we're going this way. And so not somebody who's got a Bible over their head and beating them with it, right? And preaching fire and brimstone. Not very well. And so I see myself as a shepherd. I'm here for a season. And that season has been since 2000. That season will end at some point in time. And so, what is it that I want this place to be when I leave? Well, I want it to be on solid ground. I want there to be no dissolution about whether this place is going to be here after I leave or not. And so for that to be the case, I have to be willing to let my people do what they do best. And so, new CEOs, I can see, I listen to a lot of podcasts and try to read as much as I can. I hear this a lot and see this a lot, where companies get to a certain level and they plateau. And I think a lot of them do that because those CEOs, those founders, many of them are the founders of the company. They have so many mental blocks of letting go and letting people do their thing because it's theirs, right? And I had to get past that.
Man, I love it. I love it. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is like some of those things that are still difficult. So I'll see you in a minute. If you're a CEO, owner, president, or COO of a multi-location operations-heavy company, especially in truck, parts, or service, your biggest headaches may sound like this. Communication breaking down between locations and departments, expectations that aren't clear so accountability is shaky, or decisions made in meetings that never really get implemented. I built something specifically for you. It's called the 5 CEO Bottleneck Scorecard. In about 10 minutes, it helps you first see which of the 5 leadership bottlenecks is most likely slowing down your company. Things like unclear expectations, weak follow through, or a leadership bench that isn't really leading. And next, where to focus over the next 90 days. When you complete it, you'll also get the option for a free one-on-one executive leadership diagnostic call with me to walk you through your results and turn them into a simple behavior-focused 90-day action plan. If you're watching on YouTube, scan the QR code on the screen now. On LinkedIn or Instagram, comment scorecard and we'll DM you the link. On audio, go to gpsleadership.org/scorecard. Again, that's gpsleadership.org/scorecard. All ready? Let's get back to the conversation. So I love all of these pieces that you learned really early on, which is intentionally finding space, making space for you to have room to think about the business and be the CEO. I love that you've again, just your background, the the coaching, the teaching, and it's just kind of natural. How do you grow your people? And you literally went and found the people required that to allow you the space to think about and
Mhm.
grow the business. Um, what do you still find hard? I mean, again, the reality is that there's a difference from being a $5 million company to a $10 million company to a $30 million company and so on and so forth. And so once you hit these different levels, there's different complexities. I'd love to hear, like, as you're still growing, what's still hard or what's hard right now in regards to how you lead your people? How do you, how people communicate with you, how your executive team operates?
Yeah, I think again, I can only speak for myself. It's kind of ironic. We talked about this yesterday at our monthly plant meeting. Um, Coming from a coaching background, um, I'm often pleased with the result, but I'm never satisfied. Right. So we can score. I can vividly remember many times we'd score a touchdown, and I would find something in that play that went wrong. Right, and we got to fix it. Well, I do that here a lot, but there are times that you need to celebrate the wins
Mm.
and the accomplishments and don't focus on the little things, right? And so you ask me what's hard is knowing where we want to get to, and we don't ever get there fast enough for me. But it's also realizing that I've got a lot of great people who are giving me everything they have and doing their best. And so we're going to celebrate those wins. We're going to celebrate those accomplishments, and at the same time, keep working towards getting better. I told the company yesterday, addressed our new employees and said, hey, you're working for, SmithCo Manufacturing. We're this, yada, yada, yada. We're not perfect. I said, there's not enough compound W in the world to fix all the warts that we have. And that was my way of saying we're not the perfect place, but we're working towards it. And so I think as the CEO of SmithCo, what's hard for me is to realize that we're not going to get there overnight. It's never going to be as good as I want it to be, and that's okay, because we're stacking what I call stacking coins, improvement coins, one on top of the other. And it's like I said yesterday, if you're losing weight and you only lose 1 pound a week, you're thinking, only 1 pound, but you add up those
Mm.
weeks, and within a
Yeah.
period of time, you've got some significance that's occurred. And so that's what we want to do here. We're not going to make the big leaps from where we are now to where we want to go, but we got to stack those up daily and little improvements. And so that's what's hard for me was being patient for those improvements to happen, because most CEOs, you'll take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It looks like the stock market, right? But over time, you've got this gradual improvement. And so for me, that's hard. And there's still part of the part of me that really liked being on the floor and engaged more than I can be with the people on the floor. So that's hard at times. There's people that have been here for almost 25 years, like I have, and they know me well. And there's people that have been here for 2 or 3 that don't know me well. And so,
Mm.
what kind of impact am I having on them? Because they don't know me that well, because that's important to me to invest in them.
Oh, wow.
And so ways to do that without coming across as somebody who needs to be involved in everything can be a challenge at times. So it's picking the right time to talk to them, the right subject to talk about, and how you present it and how you react to issues that may have come up, and how they see you reacted are all important things when you're considering how you look to your employees. But if I had to say what the hardest things were, it's making sure that I'm a positive person and not pointing out all the things we didn't get done.
Oh man, you again. I love everything you're talking about. If I can drill into something you said earlier, which again I love so much, you learned early on to allow yourself that space to think. Are you? Would you call yourself? And I know I'm prompting you. I know the answer. Would you call yourself perfect in that area? Like
No.
nothing ever escalates to you. That it's like how do you what does that look like, and how do you work and deal with that?
So you're asking me, how do I work with finding time just to think?
Yes, and ensuring that there's as I've worked with the leaders over the years, it's like there is many do not get to where you are. I was talking to a CEO just last week about how they're extremely frustrated with their current situation I'm very gentle how I'm saying this, their situation at their company. Yet, in large part, the situation is that because the CEO puts themselves in everything.
Mhm.
And the CEO doesn't allow their executives to lead. And so there is slowing down because they're waiting for the CEO to weigh in on everything, right? So there's that side, but then there's the other side who are actually trying to step back, but then there's drips that still kind of come up and get pushed to you. And it's like, how do you either stop those drips or do you still deal with those drips? Again, is it perfect now? You don't have to worry about it anymore?
Got it. Yeah, there's still drips that make it up to me. They're not, they're usually pretty important ones that they need
Mhm.
my input on or my permission or whatever it might be. But they're not very often, I can tell you that. I think if I was to talk to somebody like you described, um, if I put myself in the shoes of my direct reports and I'm hired to do a job, what would I want my CEO being to me? And that's kind of ironic. Every time I interview somebody, I ask them, "What would you need from me as your CEO?"
Yeah.
And they tell me, I need you to give me feedback. I need you to give me space. I need you to let me do what I do. My manufacturing director, I just did his eval last Friday, his yearly eval. He's been here 1 year. The one we had
Okay.
previously, he retired. And he came from an organization where the CEO made every decision, told him exactly what to do, when to do it. And he said, I just couldn't function under that. And so he was thanking me for allowing him to spread his wings and to have an impact on the company. And so if you find people who are high achieving, motivated, um, want to be a difference maker, you got to let them go.
Yeah.
You can't have a noose around or a collar around their neck and hold them back. You got to let them go. And if they veer off, then you bring them back, but because they're not perfect either. But I don't understand the mentality of the person in charge saying everything that happens here, I have to know about and I have to approve. You talk about gridlock, you'll never
Mm.
get anything accomplished.
100%. I'd love to hear. So, so I did a workshop recently for a few owners and CEOs, and the question that was posed to the group with the scenario, anyways, was there is an owner of a company who is transitioning out, and they are and I think their son, I think in that situation, their son or daughter was going to transition in, and the old guard was loyal to the old manager and kind of not listening to the
Mhm.
new manager, to the new owner. Um, and it was interesting the different answers and different perspectives that people had on how to deal with that challenge. One of those was, oh, well, just fire a few people, then everyone will get the they'll get the idea. And I'm like, whoa, wow.
I don't know. I would subscribe to that one.
It's the art of war, right? You cut off a few heads, everyone will fall in. Um, like again, I know actually you did go through this, right? You did transition to being the owner, right? Um, how did that process go, and what did you learn? Again, you haven't had to do it again, but what would you if you had to do it again, or if someone was asking you how to make that process smoother? Um, what would you say are the pitfalls, and what would you say like the things that you definitely should be thinking about, like what worked for you at least?
Well, I would tell that person if I'm the person that's looking to ascend and how to do that well, you have to be yourself. You have to play to your strengths. Don't be someone you aren't. Don't play to what you think the ownership wants, because if that's not you, it's going to get found out. You'll expose yourself at some point in time. With our situation here, it was rather unique. Mr. Greg Smith, who founded the company, was going to transition out. He had two sons. Neither one of them wanted anything to do with the business at all. So I didn't have to go through that side of the thing, because I think the family issues that can happen when the dad or the grandfather phases out and then the son or the grandson takes over, boy, those are some tough situations for those who are still left there to walk through. I have a friend who did that. He was a COO of a company, a $500 million company east of here. And the owner was stepping down, and he just felt like, man, the kids are coming in. I'm going to get pushed out. And he left. He went to a different company. For those who are staying, or if you're in a position like that and you see this coming down the road, I think you have to have those conversations with the owner. Say, what is the plan? Is there a succession plan? Where do I fit in with this? Because if you've got the respect of your ownership, the CEO, and they trust you, you can have those conversations. They're not fun, they're not easy, but they're important because it's if the transition happens and you haven't had these conversations and you don't know where your place is or what your role is going to be or how you're going to be affected, man, that's not a very fun place to be. But I would encourage people to have those conversations before you ever get to that spot. I think one of the things that CEOs don't do well, and I can put my own self in that boat, is the succession planning process, because we're so focused on what the company's doing and where we're going that we don't plan for the future. And that's one of the big responsibilities that we as CEOs have, is to make sure that when it's time for us to leave, whenever that is, or for whatever reason, that there's a plan in place for us to be replaced. And part of that is building into our direct reports, the different directors and managers underneath us, giving them opportunities to experience things in their employment while I'm here that gives them exposure to different aspects of being the CEO. I do that here with two of my directors, particularly because I think they have the skills to be a CEO someday. Whether they become the CEO of SmithCo when I leave, who knows? That's not my decision. That's going to be ownership's decision. But you have to be building in to the next, i.e. generation that's coming up, so that there's continuity when change takes place. And so I think a lot of CEOs neglect that until the last minute and, what's going to happen here? And it throws things into chaos. I think one of the things that Mr. Smith, when he left, did very well here is he empowered me to be the operations manager, didn't lord over me. And so when it was time for me to ascend to that position when he retired, there wasn't really any concern of who Scott is and he's taken over. There may have been some concern, can Scott do this? Because he's never done it before, but they knew who I was. Yeah. And so I think from that standpoint, continuity is important. But then again, the outgoing CEO doesn't always get to choose their successor.
Man, Scott, I've loved the conversations we had on the front end. I love the conversations we had today. You're always just sharing so much amazing stuff. I wish we would been able to talk about you being a coach and just the amazing stuff that you've done. I do want to open the floor for you really quickly as we begin to wrap up. But I want to say really quickly, you are one of those people. So I used to work in the U.S. National Park Service years ago. And I oversaw youth employment programs, and it was cool. I got to travel across the country, see these kids outdoors in places. Like one young lady from Texas, I went and visited there in the Everglades. And as I was talking to her, she started crying. She was like, "Alex, I never thought I was going to ever leave my town. I would have never thought I'd left my town. And now I'm over here on this side of the country. I've seen things. I've talked to people. I've never," like, she was so emotional, because when you work with programs that impact youth, like, you are shaping them for the future. You absolutely are. And one of the toughest things in that role is there are times when young people are taken earlier than we would hope. Right. And so you're someone who I know cares deeply about the people you work with, around the people you coach, people you mentor, you teach. And I wanted to say again, I'm not saying anything else because this is not my stuff to talk about. But I want to say, like, you are someone who I deeply respect, and everyone should know you're that guy. You're the other person who actually truly does care. I want to open the floor for you. Is there anything you want to say to our audience as we begin to wrap up?
I know I've been thinking about that when you told me that I'd have an opportunity to just, speak from the heart, so to speak. I think one of the things that I've had to learn over time is that you don't work for yourself. I used to go into interviews and people would say, "What do you want to accomplish in this job?" And this is the truth. I would tell them I wanted to be known as the best one that ever did this job when I leave. How selfish is that, right? I had to learn pretty quickly that doesn't last. That fulfillment doesn't last very long. And so as a leader within an organization like this, or when I'm coaching high school football, it's about those people and it's about serving and it's about servant leadership. And I talk to high school kids a lot in this area, especially Skills USA. I don't know if you've heard of that before. Great organization, and it's pretty prominent in our area. And I'll go talk to these kids because they're the future leaders. And I tell them, if servanthood is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. You can't be an effective leader without having a servant heart. Can you be a good administrator? Yeah. Can you be a good business person and maybe the numbers look good and the company does well? Yeah. There's the old adage that it's not personal, it's business. Everything's personal. And I try to make everything personal. And what I mean by that is every decision that we make here, and it's within our 5 tenets as a company and the leadership team, the first thing we take into consideration is what's it do to the employees? How's that affect our employees? That's the first criteria we look at with any decision that we make. And so if you're not willing to be a servant leader and serve them and make it about them, you can't create culture. You can't create buy-in, commitment, all those things that everybody's looking for in their employment force. And I think once I got past me, and I was pretty young then, once I got past me and what I wanted to accomplish and got to the point where I'm thinking about we and what's best for them, then things really started to come into focus for me. And I started becoming a much more effective and better leader of this organization. And I learned that back when I was the operations manager. And so it really fit in well when I became the CEO. But I think for aspiring CEOs, if there's any out there, that you've got to be a servant first. You can't lead if you're not willing to serve.
Man, again, thank you so much, Scott. You're freaking amazing. You're an amazingly beautiful person. And don't worry, I'm married. It's not a thing. Hey, again, Scott, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, audience, for all of you for listening, for joining, for engaging, and not only for engaging and clicking the like and subscribe and all those things, but also making sure you share this with at least one person. Because again, these nuggets, these golden nuggets that are shared, these platinum BBs that are shared are the things that ultimately, actually, to use Scott's terms, these coins that are shared are the things that you stack upon one upon another. And that's what gets you to where you want to be, is all these little pieces that come together at the end. So thank you so much for being here, Scott. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see everyone again. Stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. Thanks for listening to The Executive Appeal. If you're a CEO, owner, president, or COO of a multi-location, operations-heavy company, and you heard your own challenges in this conversation, strong team on paper, but projects still move slower than they should, and too many decisions land back on your plate, that's exactly what we fix at GPS Leadership Solutions. We run a 14-day executive leadership diagnostic to show you how your key leaders and stakeholders actually experience your leadership, then build a simple 90-day plan to remove those bottlenecks and speed up decisions. To learn more or see if it's a fit for you and your organization, visit gpsleadership.org/360. That's gpsleadership.org/360. If you found this episode valuable, subscribe and share it with another leader who needs it. I'm Alex D. Tremble. Thank you for joining us on The Executive Appeal. I'll see you in the next episode. See ya.